You know what they say? Karma never forgets an address. I never expected my parents to throw me out of a house that I bought with my own money. But they did. They didn't even hesitate. Why? Because my golden child sister Emily and her struggling family needed a place to stay. They acted like I was a visitor in my own life. Like my sacrifices, my success, and my generosity didn't matter. But karma moves fast, and they didn't see what was coming. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about justice. It's about the moment I stopped being the family's forgotten afterthought and became the author of my own life. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back to where it all began. My parents were in their late 40s when I was born. I wasn't planned, and I was never allowed to forget it. Emily, my older sister, was the daughter they actually wanted. By the time I arrived, they had already invested everything in her. Her education, her future, her happiness. My mother would sigh as she filled out Emily's college applications and say, "We didn't plan for you." Not with anger, not with hate, just cold indifference. As a child, I learned my place in the family. Early, I was an afterthought. If it weren't for my maternal grandparents, I don't think I would have survived childhood emotionally intact. My father used to drop me off at their house every morning before work and say to my grandfather, "You wanted her, she's all yours." It wasn't a joke. Their house became my real home, a place where I felt wanted. My grandfather was a retired math professor. He loved numbers, but more importantly, he loved teaching me how to use them. "Numbers never lie, Madison," he would say, his eyes twinkling. "They tell stories more honest than people do." I didn't know it at the time, but those lessons would shape my entire future. Meanwhile, my grandmother made sure I was fed, helped me with my homework, and taught me how to cook. Not as a chore, but as an expression of love. "Knowledge is the one thing nobody can take from you," she used to say. My parents, on the other hand, barely acknowledged my existence. Emily? She was their pride and joy. Emily got straight A's again. Emily made the debate team. Emily got accepted into her dream college. Me? I was the child they never planned for, left to fend for myself. When Emily left for college, I thought things might change. I thought they'd finally see me. I was wrong. Instead of being the invisible child, I became the maid. At 14, my mother called me the moment I walked through the door. "Madison, the house needs cleaning. Start with the bathrooms." Emily's chores? They were now mine. Laundry, cooking, dishes. My life became a never-ending loop of housework. One day my mother simply stopped cooking dinner. "You're old enough now. We expect dinner ready when we get home from work." They never came to my school events, never asked how I was doing. But my grandparents? They were my biggest cheerleaders. "You have a gift with numbers," my grandfather would say. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Numbers became my escape, my passion, my way out. By 16, I had a plan. I would go to college and never look back. I applied to the best universities and got accepted. Emily burst through the front door one day, practically glowing. "Mom! Dad! We're getting married!" You would have thought she had just won the lottery. My parents jumped up in excitement. Tears, hugs, celebrations. "Our first daughter's wedding has to be perfect," my mother declared. "We'll pay for everything." Money poured out like water. Lavish venues, high-end caterers, expensive dresses. The wedding was a fairy tale. And then, on the day I got my college acceptance letters, I sat at the dinner table. Heart pounding. "Mom, Dad, I got accepted into my dream schools." Silence. My mother barely looked up from her plate. "That's nice, but we can't afford it. We spent everything on Emily's wedding. You'll have to figure something out." I was crushed. "But you paid for Emily's college." "That was different," my mother said, sipping her drink. "We saw potential in her." That was the moment I knew. I was on my own. But I wasn't. I grabbed my phone, walked out of the house, and called the only people who ever truly loved me. My grandfather's voice was calm but firm. "Madison, pack your things. Come home." When I arrived at their house, he was waiting with a folder in his hands. Inside were years of careful savings. "We've been saving for your education since the day you were born," he said. That night, I packed my things and left. I never looked back. College was tough, but I thrived. I poured everything into my studies and landed top internships at major investment banks. By the time I graduated, I had job offers with salaries I never dreamed of. I moved into my own apartment, small but mine. Every morning as I drank coffee in peace, I reminded myself, I made it. Meanwhile, my parents were struggling. Emily's career flopped. Her husband couldn't hold a job. My mother drained her retirement savings to help them. Then, my grandparents passed away. It was devastating, but in their will, they left me everything. The house, $150,000, and a note to my mother. "We respected your needs when you needed us most. Now respect ours." A few months after my grandparents passed, my parents came to me with desperate eyes. "Madison, we thought we would inherit the house. We're struggling financially, and Emily's kids need a place to live." I took a deep breath. "I understand," I said. "Let me help." I decided to sell my grandparents' house and buy my parents a new one, something smaller, more manageable, a peaceful place where they could enjoy their retirement. When I showed them the new house, they were overjoyed. "It's perfect," my father said, eyes shining. "We'll make all the arrangements for a housewarming party," my mother added. "That would be lovely," I said, planning to surprise them with the official deed at the party. But weeks passed, and they never sent me an invitation. Every time I asked, I got excuses. "We're still planning." We want it to be perfect. Something felt off. One night, out of curiosity, I typed Emily's name into Facebook, and there it was, a public post, hours old. "Can't wait for Mom and Dad's housewarming party this Saturday. Excited to celebrate this beautiful home." Dozens of comments. Caterers hired, decorations being set up, a huge celebration. I hadn't even been invited. The night of the party, I parked a block away. Through the windows, I saw guests laughing, drinking, celebrating. My father was giving house tours. My mother, in her finest pearls, was greeting guests at the entrance. And Emily? Her moving boxes were stacked in the corner. They weren't just celebrating. They were moving in. I walked through the side door unnoticed. The smell of catered food and fresh flowers filled the air. In the living room, my father raised a glass. After all these years of hard work, we finally did it. We bought our dream home. The crowd cheered. "And don't forget Emily," my mother added, smiling. "She helped so much with the down payment. Such a wonderful daughter, always thinking about family first." I froze, unlike some people. Laughter. "Oh, Madison, she's too busy with her career to care about family." I stepped forward. "Actually," I said, my voice clear, "I think you got that backwards." The room fell dead silent. My father's forced smile twitched. "Madison, what a surprise." "Yes," I said, "especially since I wasn't invited to the housewarming party for the house I bought." Emily's kids stared wide-eyed. Emily's husband looked confused. "You bought it?" one of the kids asked. "Yes, sweetie," I said. "I did," Emily scoffed. "Well, it's ours now. You can't expect eternal gratitude." I smiled. "I don't expect gratitude, but I do expect respect." I pulled a folder from my bag and held it up. The house deed. My mother paled. "What's done is done," she snapped. "The house is ours now. Emily's family needs space." I shook my head. "No," I said. "The house is mine. I never transferred ownership to you." Gasps, whispers. "You can't do this," my mother screeched. "We're your parents. We have rights." "The only rights you have," I said calmly, are the ones I choose to give you. And right now, I was choosing to give them none. I turned to the guests. I'm sorry, but this party is over. This is my house. I'm asking everyone to leave. There was a scramble. People grabbing coats, plates abandoned mid-meal. My mother was still shrieking. My father was muttering about family obligations. Emily? She just stood there, her confidence shattered. One by one, they all left. For the first time, the house was quiet, and it finally felt like mine. A few weeks later, I heard that my parents had moved into a tiny apartment with Emily, her husband, and their kids. 5 people. 1 cramped space. The calls came. First, angry. You're heartless. Just like your grandparents warned us you would. Then pleading. How could you do this to your own family? Then desperate. Please, think of the children. I blocked them all. The house stood empty. But it was no longer a burden. I put it up for sale. A month later, I signed the papers, closing that chapter of my life forever. Some asked if I would ever forgive them. But I learned something important. Forgiveness doesn't mean welcoming toxicity back into your life. Sometimes forgiveness is walking away. As I packed away an old family photo, I whispered a silent promise. My children will never feel the way I felt. They will never have to earn my love. They will never compete with a sibling for my affection. They will know every single day that they are wanted. Because family, it's not just blood. It's love, respect, support. And for the first time in my life, I finally had a family that truly loved me, even if they were gone. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.